Hello, darlings. Welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name is Freedom. Tonight, I wanted to talk to you about the fact that narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths all wear masks. When they go out into the world, they create an illusion. So they put on a mask that they show the world. It's not who they really are. Figments, it is made of figments of other people's characters. They can literally construct, so the mask that you see is part of a bigger construct of a personality and an illusion that they are creating for you. So it's specifically for you. They have a slightly different one for the other supply or the new supply or former supply. But the specific one that they're wearing right now is designed for you and is made up of a combination of things. The first is that they are mirroring you and your behavior, the things that you like, the things that you are interested in, your values, your beliefs, your position, the way you view the world. So they are mirroring that back to you. So in the beginning stages, what will happen is you'll find that the narcissist or the sociopath will, they'll be watching you quite intently, but they're actually analyzing your reactions to things. So they might try on certain, they might try certain sayings out to test where you stand on something. But they won't say, I believe in bestiality, right? But what you'll hear is, I used to have a flatmate who tried to wank off a dog. And they'll watch your reaction. And most people would be obviously disgusted by that. But, they're trying it out just to see. I mean, maybe they could get lucky. Maybe, you're the person that kind of does that kind of thing. And that's how they would know. So I picked that one because that is one of the things that my soon-to-be next came out with at the beginning of our relationship, which is more of just an interaction. But, when you're young and naive and you believe that everyone's honest and good, I mean, you wouldn't think anything twice of someone talking about a flatmate. Now that I'm older and wiser, I see that obviously it's this fictitious flatmate who never existed, but that was just his way of gauging my reaction to obviously taboo subjects like bestiality. And I remember there was a few incidences where he either tried something on to gauge my reaction, or he put it in the context of someone he'd known, someone he'd heard about. Even just things like, they will often, for example, try and make you look at certain type of pornography to gauge, how far they can take things. And the kind of, the really toxic thing about all of this is, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation, because they're going to use the information one way or another against you. And so anyhow, look, as I say, this is where, this is one of the ways that they elicit information from you. They don't necessarily just ask you outright. They gauge your reactions. They ask questions, in these kind of roundabout, I had a friend once, I had a flatmate once, or did you hear on the news this happened? These kind of then it's not upfront. It's not genuine communication. It's highly manipulative. and it's you know, this kind of just sneaky stuff. Anyhow, so this is what they're doing. They're finding out who you are, what you're about, what your boundaries are, how far they can push you. But as I said, in part, it's about them creating this mirror back to you, because ultimately what their aim is at this initial stage, when you're first meeting them in the love bombing and idealization phase, what they're really trying to do is to test you to see whether or not you're going to be good supply, and to see how quickly they can lock you down and start pumping you for fuel, basically start getting what they want. And obviously they have to do that by creating an environment where you are loyal, trapped, isolated, so even if you wanted to leave you couldn't, and where you are invested in the relationship. So the whole future faking, you know, getting engaged, getting married, having babies, all of those things are Narc tools that they will use. Getting back to the mask. You know, one of the fascinating things I got to tell you is, and this is just one of those random things, but I find it fascinating. When I first met my narc, it was my son's 6th birthday, I think, and it was my son's birthday, and he was a little boy, and my soon-to-be next gave him a DVD, and it was, the movie was The Mask, or The Son of the Mask. He actually, it was one of those, you know, hiding in plain sight kind of things. You know, he knew he was pretending to be someone that he wasn't. I didn't know, you know, but they get a kind of perverse joy of out of that kind of thing, about conning you and then telling you that they're conning you, and then laughing at how stupid and naive you are for believing them and for trusting them. You know, because that in their eyes is weakness. They don't see love as love. Love is weakness. And your love is, you know, it just makes you vulnerable to them. Anyhow, so the mask is designed in part to lure you in, to mirror you back to you, but it's also to quite literally to be worn as a mask. It's the way they hide themselves from the world. You know, so for example, when Mum was with me, he was working class. You know, we both had jobs, we both worked. You know, we had a kind of a relatively normal, I suppose, looking relationship, and you know, normal life together. You know, that was the facade that he was playing, was happy families. It was interesting at the time because his ex was saying things like calling him super citizen, and I thought at the time, I thought, wow, that's strange. I didn't understand what it was about, but now in hindsight, once again, I can see quite clearly what she was saying, and that is that, you know, when he was with her, he was a kind of thug and a criminal and hard, you know, trying to be hardcore, wannabe gangster. You know, always in trouble with the police, had a police record, violent, getting to punch-ons at pubs, that kind of thing. But when he was with me, like I said, he put on a different mask, because there's no way that I would have been involved with someone like that for any period of time. So yes, so the mask is to, like I said, to attract you, mirror you, lock you down. It's their way they move through the world, and then the construct, which is more, it's an extension of the mask. So the construct is that whole personality thing. So that is where they will quite literally, I mean, it can be not just that they change the way they look. And mine used to be quite a shapeshifter. I mean, sometimes he'd shave his facial hair. I mean, he'd go from, for example, you know, having a shaved bald head and a long bushy beard when he was being kind of gangstery, bikey, any of those kind of roles. And then he'd do these other things where he'd grow his hair longer and wear like this either German moustache or like a, you know, ape hanger, I think they're called, long moustache, like Mexican moustache. I mean, just strange things like that. And the clothes would change as well. You know, he'd go from wearing big baggy pants and, you know, looking like a kind of gangster to then being more like a bikie. And these are all different aspects of the different personas that he acts out. And now with the new one, he's running around like this kind of hood rat. Like he's gone back to being petty crim. You know, he's a bit of a loser and it's quite sad. But, you know, he's wearing clothes that a lot younger man would wear. And, yeah, he still does the same thing. You know, he still changes his facial hair and whatever. But the point is, you know, most people, sure, you know, we might change our hair color and we might change our hairstyles occasionally and that kind of thing, but it's not this kind of really, it doesn't happen often for a start, you know, it's not an everyday kind of thing. And with the narcissist, it's almost like every day they pick a mask, who they're going to be that day. And it depends on who they're seeing and what they're doing. And I remember at the end of our relationship, I remember at the end, sometimes the mask would slip and he wouldn't know how to act around me. And that was very strange. He quite literally would say things that he knew that I would just be not okay with, that was wildly inappropriate. And then I'd see the confusion on his face where he'd be thinking to himself, oh, hang on, that's not right. Hang on, I'm not supposed to be that person. I mean, if I didn't know better, you know, I'd maybe think it was something like multiple personality disorder or dissociative disorder, but it's not. I'm quite aware of the fact that it's not. But that's what, you know, you might think as an outsider, perhaps looking in on someone who has all these different personalities. And like I said, and the constructs, so the personality constructs are really quite fascinating because they literally will take pieces, snippets of you know, personalities that they've liked, ex-girlfriends that they've been with, things that they've seen on movies. They might have caught, you know, some actor in a movie and they love that role, and all of a sudden, you know, they're morphing, you know, actually morphing into that person. And you start seeing them cutting their hair and wearing the facial hair that way, or wearing the clothes, and then it becomes a part of their personality. But it's not a part of their personality. It's just a part of that particular construct. And like I said, they will pick it up and put it on like it's clothes. And then if they're seeing different supply and, you know, spending the time with different people, they will quite literally pick a different personality and put that on like clothes. So it's quite surreal, I think, when you've been with a narcissist over a period of time, you know, to actually be able to see that. I mean, if you were only there with them for a short period of time, you know, for the first couple of years, for example, you wouldn't notice so much any of this stuff, or you wouldn't be alarmed maybe. But as time progressed, as I said, it became harder and harder for him to maintain the illusion of the, you know, this suburban married man, you know, family guy, you know, who cared about the environment and, oh God, like stuff like that's just hysterical when I think about him now, driving around like V8s and throwing cigarette butts out the window, and, you know, and yet he's attended, you know, environmental rallies with me. So yes, it's very, very surreal. And as I said, the construct is there, and it's because they don't actually have a personality of their own. You know, they have certain ways about them, but really they're more just this kind of emptiness. They're like almost like a black hole, really. They're like negative energy, or black, that kind of black, you know, what is it called? Is it blackened? Negative energy. I can't think what the term is, but, you know, this absence of anything. There's no light, there's no nothing there. And so that's why they're continually needing other people to give them energy, give them all the stuff that they need, because they don't have it within themselves. And, you know, they don't care whether they dress up in high heels and, you know, a dress, but if they think they'll get supply from it, they will, you know. So yeah, look, I'd be interested to hear if any of you want to talk about in the comments. I'd be interested to hear about the mask and the construct and any of your experiences with that. because it's one of those things. I think it's, if you haven't experienced it, I mean, you wouldn't believe it if you hadn't experienced it. And that is one of the reasons why there is so much power in our communities, because when we are together, we can validate each other's stories, and we realize that, we aren't alone. We all have these relationships with these individuals. They all act the same way. They all do the same things. This is their personality disorder. It's what gives them the diagnosis that they have. So, yeah, if you have anything to say about that, you're more than welcome to leave it in the comments. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to hear more, and also I think there's a little bell button if you want to hear every time I'm going to go live. This is Narc Free Formula. I'm Freedom, and thank you for joining me. Get narc free and stay narc free, darlings. Bye.